A bicycle, a chess set, an African river. My name is Birgitta Weaving and I am interviewing Cape Talk radio presenter Shiloh Noon about the launch of his new novel, A Bicycle, a Chess Set, an African River. But before we venture into that, Shiloh, you're more of a musicologist. Your last book, Seek a Guide to the Rhythms of Yesteryear, achieved a 4-star Rolling Stone award. So why the sudden change?
Well, I'd reached that point with music where I felt, I'm not going to say it's the apocalypse of good music. My last book was on music of the 60s and 70s. I don't know enough about the music of the 80s. So it was inevitable that I would eventually, being a storyteller in my own personal capacity, I would eventually want to write a novel. And this was a number of inspirations that brought this about. This book that I felt that was living within me, the story was within me, it was living within me, and I had to put it to paper.
Shiloh, I know that you're a chess teacher in the townships. Tell us about your inspiration to write this book.
There were two actual factors that influenced me to write this book. One was a small article on the internet about Zulu children wading across the Tugela River to attend school, a crocodile-infested river. Now, the thought of crossing a river that's crocodile-infested and then still having to return at possibly 2 or 3 o'clock was an extremely daunting thought. I don't think anybody in the Western world can actually think about the angst of those children having to still go back and wade across the river. The second inspiration was, yes, I am a chess teacher, and there was a time when there were extreme riots in Amanas, and we were teaching chess while the tear gas was falling and while one of the classrooms was burning, and the children were coming up to me asking me, "Coach, am I going to die?" And I had to come up with a reasonable answer, and it's the emotions of that experience that I bring into the book when there's a child abduction.
So I see you have a local publisher called Naledi, which means that you're not self-publishing. How did that transpire?
Well, I'd like to think that Naledi, we found each other because I met Johan from Naledi a good couple of years ago. And what's so beautiful about it, it's a boutique publisher. They have a relationship with their authors, which is rather unusual. He was more interested in me as a person and my history. And then, of course, exposing the book and the love and the passion. They're a wonderful bunch of people. They are boutique. They are interested in you, and they've got an extreme passion. I've seen the quality of their books on book fairs, and it's wonderful the way they package their books. And I just felt this kind of story that is extremely personal and very passionate, it could only move with a boutique publisher. So it's all about that intimacy.
Can you give us a brief outline as to the story and where it takes place and what period?
The story actually takes place on the border of Eswatini, which was Swaziland in those days, and it's in the area of Goba. And Goba is a small town on the borderland between the Namacha swamps of Mozambique and a little mission station over the road, over the river, the Mabaluzi River, run by a Father Angus, who's a retired mercenary from the Congo. And basically what happens is a retired engineer on the one side of the river, Pat Simmons, wants to give back to Africa. And he reads a small article in the newspaper about Chess for Change, and he decides he would like to go and teach chess at this mission station. Of course, the problem was when he gets to the river, he realizes he cannot cross it with his Land Rover. So he has to wade across with his bicycle. And of course, the river is crocodile infested. So this wonderful story takes place of this retired colonial teacher being confronted by his own fears, by the innocence of children. And there's great wildlife experiences. And then suddenly the poachers arrive from Mozambique and they abduct the children. And the South African government doesn't want to know about it because the penning of Nelson Mandela as president, it's too much of a hot potato. So the Zulu fathers, and of course Father Angus, who's a retired mercenary, along with Pat Simmons and a young German doctor called Brigitte Schmidt, decide to give chase. Amongst the people that give chase is Jaluka, the wolfhound, Zandi, a mystical Zulu, who has the art of actually communicating with crocodiles through some form of Tai Chi dance, believe it or not, and Brightstar, Sifo Brightstar, who is Father Angus's right-hand man and an acute sniper. They give chase across the Lebombo Mountains, and the story unfolds. It's wonderful. The children start teaching the poachers chess. And all these poachers are ex-Renamo rebels. And there's this wonderful process that takes place that softens the leader, Ramos Rivera. And eventually they reach the beach, the coastland of Mozambique, and the children are taken across to an island. There's a fiery battle that takes place on the beach, and lives are lost. And eventually Father Angus and his motley crew are able to wade across to the island at low tide. Beware the hammerhead sharks and beware the Portuguese man of war. There are losses again. They managed to get the children back safely. First phase of the journey. Second phase, their history of being a mercenary results in being put into jail in Mozambique, and we did not have an embassy there. They managed to escape, and they worked their way down through the Bezaruto Islands, which has wonderful experiences on its way. And they come across the child trafficking base where there are more children abducted. And what is incredible, what I love about it, is they manage to save those children by getting them off the island and end up in Cozy Bay. That's one adventure. The last part of the adventure is the children are now all safe and they've got to get back to Goba. And the KwaZulu War has taken a new height. So they have to take the back roads. And this is where tragedy occurs, where Father Angus's arm is ripped off by a crocodile while they are busy repairing a tire. There was a water trough in the road and there was a crocodile lying in the mud. They have incredible experiences. They come across a Zulu group called the Seers, and they prophesy Father Angus's ending. They also come up against shamanism, or not quite against it, but they experience shamanism. The Tonga people managed to save Father Angus and get him to the hospital in Durban. But the experiences along the road are incredible. Wildlife experiences, until they actually go straight into the war zone where they meet the Bang Bang Club, the photographers that are recording this terrible civil war. There are moments of warmth. There is moments of humor throughout the book. There are spiritual messages throughout the book. It is almost Lawrence van der Post's Walk with a White Bushman in African story. And then the glory of it is they finally reach their destination and there's a wonderful reunion. And many years later, that school, they get us an American sponsor, and the school becomes a thriving school, and chess is the subject, and one of the children who was abducted is the principal, and there's this wonderful experience that takes place near the end. And somewhere on a lonely island in the Bezaruto, where those chess sets were left, the very teacher that takes and starts teaching the children is Ramos Rivera, the poacher who abducted the children. It is a story of warmth. It will bring tears and goosebumps to anybody. It will grip you from the beginning of the page to the end.
The question many would like to know is the story based on fact or fiction?
It's based on fiction, but I would call it fictional reality because I draw some of the experiences from my own experiences as a missionary when I was confronted by what I thought was a tokolosh, and also having lived with the San and experienced shamanism in its many dimensions. So there's a fictional reality process to it.
Apart from the African adventure, I see you tackle controversial topics like colonialism, tribal tradition versus modernism, spirit of Ubuntu and shamanism. I take it that in between the spirit of adventure are deep revelations?
Very deep revelations. The spirit of Ubuntu, which is the wonderful interpersonal contact with communities that treat you so special, has been lost by what I call political corruption. So I'm bringing back that spirit of Ubuntu. It's a word hardly used these days, but it was very used in just before the time of Nelson Mandela's presidency, and it's got lost along the way. Colonialism, well, that's a big word. Are we talking Portuguese, French colonialism? Are we talking English colonialism? And that has an evil of its own. And that is something that you'll have to read about, because it's my interpretation of what it's all about.
Having read the back page reviews from learned African Renaissance thinkers like Sally Muing and advocate Sadaki, even actor Jamie Bartlett, for once there seems to be a story with light and hope for Africa amidst all of that negative political books. How would you describe this novel overall?
A portal of light, a messenger from above, a story that can change people's lives, a book that you will not put down until you have read the end, and you will probably shed a tear.
In summary, I sense between the lines a possible movie, but more importantly, when will the book be on the shelves to buy?
The book will be on the shelves from mid-February to March. That's a fact. It's in print as we speak. And yes, there is the talk of a movie. There are Netflix agents in America waiting for the book. And on that note, I will not say more.
Shiloh Noon, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. And we really look forward to a bicycle, a chess set, an African river to be released soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.